هیو هاوی متولد سال 1975 یه نویسنده آمریکایی که بیشتر با ژانر علمی تخیلی میشناسنش. یه رمان 9 جلدی معروف داره به اسم سیلو که به بیش از 40 زبان زنده دنیا از جمله فارسی ترجمه شده. خب یه جهانی رو تصور کنی که در اون حیات به صورت کلی از زمین رفته و در یه پناهگاه‌های خیلی بزرگی 10,000 انسان پناه گرفتن و راهی جز زنده موندن در این سیلوی بوتونی ندارن. جذاب به نظر میرسه نه؟ چون شبکه اپل تیوی پلاس هم همین فکر رو میکنه و با اقتباس از این رمان یه سریالی به اسم سیلو پخش کرده که به یکی از پربازدیدترین سریال های این شبکه شده. اگه بخوام آثار دیگه از این نویسنده بهتون معرفی کنم میتونم به مجموعه رمان‌های فانوس دریایی 23 و سنگریزه‌های شنی اشاره کنم. خب در ادامه گفتگوی ما با این نویسنده آمریکایی رو میبینید. امیدوارم لذت ببرید. Mr. Hugh Howey, I welcome you to this interview and thank you for the time you took. And to start with, I want to ask you to introduce yourself shortly with your own words.
Sure. My name is Hugh Howey. I'm an American science fiction writer. I've been writing for about 14 years and written over 20 books. They've been translated into over 40 languages and been very lucky to make a living at this. I started writing as a hobby, and here I am over a decade later, just having the more successful career than I ever imagined.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You are mostly known for your sci-fi work. How come you chose this genre? What happened to inspire you to do it? What attracted you to this word?
I read a lot of different kind of books as a kid growing up, and it was science fiction that sparked my imagination. Before science fiction, I was reading a lot of fantasy, which deals with things that didn't happen in the past, and science fiction is about things that may happen in the future. And the difference for me was huge. I love thinking about what might be possible down the road in two ways. One, all the incredible developments we could make in a positive direction, but also love thinking about the dangerous places we could go as a society if we ignored the lessons of the past. So I loved books like Brave New World in 1984, Handmaid's Tale, Fahrenheit 451. These are a type of science fiction that are more about the science of human nature than the science of gizmos.
Yeah, exactly. And your collection of books, Silo, was well received from also Iranian audience. So I'm really thrilled to know, how did you come to write it? What was the first idea that shaped this whole collection?
The original idea was looking at how much of the world we were consuming through screens, through our phones and our computers and TV. And they give us a very negative view of the world because, negative news gets more clicks, it gets more views. And this does something to our psyche when we think the outside world is a terrible, unsafe place.
Yeah.
So if you notice, the show really revolves around the wall screen and this view of the outside world.
Yes, yes.
And I luckily did enough traveling to learn not to trust the screens, that you have to go see the world for yourself. And what I found over and over again is the real world was much more beautiful than what the news tends to show us.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And as you know, there are many good sci-fi writers nowadays, and who who were your inspiration? Which writers or filmmakers help you step into this land of sci-fi?
I loved Philip K. Dick growing up. His short stories always question reality, question our view of reality. And a lot of films, which when I was younger, I didn't realize they were Philip K. Dick films, but Total Recall, Blade Runner,
yes,
they had much different stories, or different names as stories. So I didn't recognize that I was consuming his stories in two different mediums. I loved comic books growing up, and I learned a lot of storytelling from comics. And Orson Scott Card, who wrote Ender's Game. I was really young when I read that, and it did two things for me. It made me really love science fiction, but it also told me a story about a young kid who changed the universe. And I hadn't encountered a story like that. I was like 12 or 13 when I read it. And that story fired me up, and I started reading as much Orson works as I could.
Your work has also post-apocalypse and dystopian approach to it. With that, are you giving the people in this era we're living a warning or a message? Are you reminding us of something that we've neglected? If yes, what is it?
Yeah, I think it's not so much a warning, because I feel like we have lots of these warnings. But you said reminder, and I think that's the perfect word to use, because there's a lot of stories like this, and if you keep telling them, then we stay on guard. We protect our future. So I think all these reminders are good. A reminder can be a positive thing. We know this story seems dark, but the idea is that this protects us, and that our protagonists have a possibility for a happy ending. The things we should protect against are just giving away too much of our freedom to the people who are in control of us, but also losing sight of the idea that in order for us to coexist, we have to give up some freedoms. If we were all free, nobody would be free. Because people could just, come into our homes. They could take our things. Like we have to agree to give up certain freedoms. And the balance between how much freedom we can allow, how much truth is a good idea, that's kind of central to this story, and I think central to our questions of how to govern ourselves.
Silo TV series has also many symbolic aspects in regard to our world now and the history of mankind. What is it, in your opinion, the connection or relation between Silo's dystopian world and our nowadays life, our current world?
There's a lot. One is the idea that the data about us is used to control us and manipulate us. I think we've been very quick to give up a lot of information about ourselves, a lot of data to the big technology companies. That's why, the bad guys in the show are IT, not the police. It's the people who have the computers that have all the power. I think, again, believing your eyes, believing what you're told versus what you know in your heart or what you discover for yourselves. The more we have AI writing things and generated images, we have to start doubting just what we're shown on a screen. I think meeting people in person and doing our own investigations is going to be more and more important.
It is rare nowadays, actually, and that's sad and scary. The world building in Silo is very believable, and audience can connect to it, I would say, easily. As the writer of the book, how did the TV show do with representing your book?
I think it's a lot more vivid than the book because, you know, there's only so much you can convey with words. It's hard to paint a full picture of a setting. And by turning this into a TV show, it's not just my creativity. We get to bring in, you know, incredible designers,
Yes.
Artists, painters, wardrobe people, hair and makeup. And each one of these like hundreds of talented people get to help paint the bigger world. And I think it's gorgeous to look at. It's got so much more detail and creativity than my simple version of the story.
Yeah, so you're really happy with it.
Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, thrilled.
That's nice. The title Silo is short, very exact, and fitting. How did you come to this? How the word?
Well, you know, the original title of the book in the US is called Wool, which we have a saying here to have the wool pulled over your eyes, is a saying about being lied to.
Oh.
And so that title doesn't translate great into other countries. So some countries, like in Germany and elsewhere, just called the book Silo. And later, when it became a trilogy, we started calling it the Silo series. So when Apple took over the whole series and they had the ambition of telling not just the first book but the whole story, they decided to go with the title Silo. Yeah, I think a nice short name. It just has like a very solid, impactful feeling rather than, you know, a sentence for a title.
And Silo is now first show on Apple TV Plus. Congratulations. Is there something you want the audience while watching pay more attention to?
Yeah, there's a lot. I've been doing a video after each episode to kind of show some little details that you might miss. I think the show really stands up to a second viewing. There's so much you'll catch the second time. So, you know, the finale releases in like less than 24 hours. And hopefully people, after the whole show is out, people will go and rewatch the whole thing again and pick up on all these details they missed.
Yeah, so great. It's much more fun. So let's get a little bit more personal. How did your life experience and your American culture influence your mindset and you writing the piece?
Yeah, one of the things that really influenced me was realizing how much of your news is propaganda. When growing up in the Cold War, like we were told, you know, Cuba, for instance, was this terrible place. And we have to fear Cuba, we have to hate Cuba, and they're so close to us. It's just like 70 kilometers away from the Florida Islands. And the first time I sailed to Cuba was in the late 90s before it had opened up to American travel. And I was expecting them to hate me because I'd been told to hate them. And when I got there, I found the customs people, you know, gave me a big hug and they were, you know, welcomed me there. And I had the best time. And I've been to Cuba now more times since and spent months there just falling in love with the people. And that was part of, you know, what the story is about, the way our news and our political system teaches us the wrong thing. Like we have to see the world with our own eyes and make our own opinions. And, you know, you're from Iran, the same thing with the Middle East.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we're told just terrible things about each other. And it's really our politicians who don't get along.
Yes, exactly.
I meet people from the Middle East all the time in my travels, and we have the best time. We're the same kind of people. We laugh at the same jokes. We enjoy the same flavors. We want to watch sports and love, you know, our partners and love our kids. So we don't have as much against each other as the people in charge want us to.
Yes. True. I love that perspective, really. What is the advice you would give as a writer to aspiring writers?
The main thing is that you have to be a serious reader if you want to be a writer. You have to read a lot. You have to read the great works. You have to absorb as much of them as possible. It's like a musician, you know, a lot of what they learn for creating their own music is by listening and studying the music of different artists and different time periods and different genres. And so it starts there, and then writing is like a marathon, not a sprint. You have to commit to many years of practice. You can't just say, look, I write a lot of emails, I write blog posts, I know how to write, I'm just going to write one book and then I'm done. You need to think, okay, I'm going to write 1 or 2 books a year for the next 5 or 10 years. I'm going to try to write 20 books. And only if you have that kind of a long-term mindset can you get through the growing pains.
So you always you always wrote since you were also a kid, you were writing?
Yeah, I was been trying to write books since I was like 12 years old, but it took me a long time to finish a novel. Writing an entire book is a very difficult and long process, so it's easy to get a little bit into it and give up or get distracted. And it took me a long time to learn how to stick with the book and to the very, very end.
And do you have a routine or a ritual when you write? You have to be in a specific place, or you can...
No, as long as I have my laptop, I can write from anywhere. I've written in the back of taxis. I've written in airports, sitting on the sidewalk outside, waiting for friends to come by, in bed. Anywhere I can prop up a laptop, I'm happy to write. I do write, I think, better in the morning, so I try to write like early while my brain is still a little sleepy, a little more poetic.
Oh, yes. As the creator of the word of Silo, out of curiosity, would you like to live in that word for a bit?
Oh, for a bit? Sure. Like I'll do a week's vacation anywhere.
Yeah.
But I would not want that to be my home. I love the outside too much.
Yes.
And I love like the ocean. The fact that they don't have enough water to swim in is terrifying to me.
Yeah, so that was the shot where they look at the ocean picture.
Yeah, exactly. That was me. Like, I'm like, this is what I would want to see.
Yeah. Do you have a piece you're working on or something to be published in the near future?
Yeah, I just actually have copies that just came in. This just came out a couple weeks ago. It's called The Balloon Hunter, and it's a story I did with another writer, Eleanor Taylor, and it's told through postcards. So it's very
beautiful.
It's very graphic.
Yeah.
It's very, very unique. And the response has been incredible. We're working on the second book now. We're going to make it a trilogy, but it's a super fun book.
It's also in sci-fi genre.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's got an ending that not many people will see coming. So it's a fun little,
I would love that.
It's a good surprise.
Yeah. Imagine you have a microphone in your hands and all the world could hear your voice. What would you tell them? What will your message be?
My message would be one of optimism. I think the world keeps getting better all the time, but it's because we demand for it to be better. We have to keep having high expectations of ourselves, of the people around us, of the world. And I trust that humans will keep solving more problems than we create and make the world a better place.
Praise to that, and praise to your creativity, and I salute you. And do you have any last words? And
no, just thank you for the interview and for all the support in Iran, and for all the people watching who've helped make this show such a success. It's been a dream.